There is a reason some women spend years trying to be chosen, while others walk away the moment they realize they are not. And it has nothing to do with beauty, nothing to do with age, nothing to do with luck. It has everything to do with something most people never learn, something that quietly shapes every relationship they enter. Because somewhere along the way, many women were taught a dangerous idea, that their worth had to be proven, that love had to be earned, that acceptance had to be negotiated, that if they could just explain themselves a little better, love a little harder, give a little more, someone would finally choose them. But what if the problem was never that you weren't enough? What if the problem was that you kept trying to convince people of something they had already decided not to see? And what if that realization could change your entire life? The truth is that many women spend years chasing validation without realizing it. They believe they are searching for love, but often they are searching for proof. Proof that they matter. Proof that they are worthy. Proof that they are enough. And the human brain is incredibly vulnerable to this cycle. Every time someone gives attention and then pulls away, every time a message arrives after hours of silence, every time affection becomes unpredictable, the brain releases dopamine. Dopamine is not the chemical of happiness. It is the chemical of anticipation. It keeps you waiting, hoping, checking your phone, replaying conversations, wondering what changed, wondering what you did wrong, wondering how to get back what you once had. And before you realize it, your nervous system becomes trapped in a loop that feels like love, but often has very little to do with love at all. Because healthy love creates stability. Healthy love creates safety. Healthy love creates peace. What creates obsession is uncertainty. What creates emotional addiction is inconsistency. And many women spend years confusing the two. They mistake anxiety for connection. They mistake longing for love. They mistake emotional exhaustion for devotion. Their nervous system learned something powerful when they were younger. It learned that being understood meant being safe. Being accepted meant being secure. Being chosen meant being valuable. And so they carry that belief into adulthood without even realizing it. They enter relationships trying to earn what should never have to be earned, trying to prove what should never have to be proven, trying to secure what cannot be forced. And that is where suffering begins, because no amount of explaining can make someone value you. No amount of sacrifice can make someone choose you. No amount of waiting can create genuine reciprocity. The harder you try to force connection, the more disconnected you become from yourself. And eventually, something strange happens. You stop asking whether someone is right for you. You start asking whether you are enough for them. That single shift changes everything, because now your self-worth sits in someone else's hands. Now your peace depends on their response. Now your confidence depends on their attention. Now your value depends on their approval. And that is an impossible way to live. The strongest women are not the ones who never feel rejection. They are the ones who stop allowing rejection to define them. They understand something most people spend a lifetime learning. Your value is not created by being chosen. Your value exists before anyone arrives. It exists after they leave, and it remains untouched by another person's inability to recognize it. Think about how much energy is wasted trying to convince people, trying to prove your intentions, trying to explain your heart, trying to justify your worth. trying to earn a place where you should have been welcomed naturally. Imagine what would happen if all of that energy returned to you. Imagine what would happen if you stopped chasing validation and started building a life you genuinely loved. Imagine how different your relationships would feel if you entered them from abundance instead of fear. Because that is the real transformation. Not becoming someone others admire, becoming someone who no longer needs constant admiration. Not becoming impossible to lose, becoming impossible to abandon by yourself. There's a quiet confidence that appears when a woman finally understands her value. She stops negotiating against herself. She stops shrinking to fit spaces that were never designed for her. She stops explaining her boundaries. She stops apologizing for her needs. She stops begging for clarity from people committed to confusion. And little by little, her entire life changes. Not because the world changed, but because she did. The people who truly belong begin to stay. The people who only wanted access begin to disappear. And for the first time, she realizes something extraordinary. Peace feels better than chasing. Self-respect feels better than approval. And authenticity feels better than acceptance earned through self-betrayal. You were never meant to spend your life proving your worth. You were never meant to compete for love. You were never meant to become an option waiting to be selected. You were meant to recognize your value long before anyone else did. And the moment you stop asking, "Why won't they choose me?" you begin asking a much more powerful question. Do I choose this for myself? That is where freedom begins. That is where healing begins. That is where your life changes. You were never meant to be an option. You were meant to remember your worth. And if this message spoke to something deep inside you, subscribe to Sophia Stoica. Because here, we are not learning how to be chosen. We are learning how to choose ourselves.